Yeah, so my husband and I came to Jyväskylä in 2010, and we came here actually for him to study. There's the sport faculty is here in Jyväskylä. I think it's the only sport faculty at any university in Finland. And so we came here for him to study sport and exercise psychology for his master's, and when we got here, we immediately loved it. We had been told by the woman who was the director of the program that Jyväskylä was like the Athens of Finland, so that intrigued us, and we came here for him to study, and then we loved it, and then we stayed for me to study. So I applied to do my PhD in education pretty much right as soon as we got here, and then we just stayed. We thought it was amazing. In 2010, yeah, and then I started my PhD studies in the beginning of 2011. And then it took me a really long time to finish. I didn't finish until 2019, and in the middle I had 4 kids and 4 maternity leaves. But then I managed to finish in 2019, and I did my postdoc in California, and then we came back here to Finland to settle.
And when did you settle here?
We actually immigrated to Finland in 2017, so we knew pretty much as soon as we arrived. We came to Finland from China by train on the Trans-Siberian Express, and when we arrived to Jyväskylä on the train after that experience, and when we got off, within the first 3 weeks of being here, we were like, this is it. This is the place that we want to stay forever. So we actually applied at that point to stay, and they were like, you've only been here a couple weeks, so I don't think so. And it was funny because then when we actually ended up that we did stay, they made our application retroactive to the first time that we had applied, which was really great for them, the Kela inclusion at that time. But we right away started trying to learn the language and to pass the language test that you have to take to get citizenship, and then we got citizenship in 2017. So we already had 3 kids, and then our youngest was born a Finnish citizen.
Wow. So let's dig deeper into that a little bit. So before we go into education, because the purpose of education is of course to have proactive children taking part in the society in productive and healthy ways, and the role of a mother and a father taking care of children is very much underplayed in societies, in modern societies, and we might separate that too much when we talk about education and the role of actually parenting or having even children. Like Finland has a problem now of not having enough children in our fantastic education system. So the role of a mother, can you tell us a little bit how it was to become a mother in Finland, and if you take the mother's perspective, raising children in Finland, maybe that was one of the reasons also why you came to Finland. Tell us more about those reasons and focusing on the mother's role.
Yeah, so actually I think when we came here to Finland in 2010, our initial plan had been that we would stay here for 2 years for my husband to do his master's, and then I wanted to apply to this PhD program in Spain, in Barcelona, that I don't think exists anymore, but it was this program in citizenship and values education, because that, for me, that's a passion, and the relationship between education and democratic citizenship, and what is education for society and social change. And but when we got to Finland, right away I thought, oh, this would be a lovely place to have kids. This would be a really fantastic place to raise children. And my husband and I, we both grew up in the Midwest in the United States in monolingual families. So for us it was a big thing to we lived in Chile together and to learn how to speak Spanish, and then we lived in Japan and to learn how to speak Japanese, even just to get by and have conversations and integrate into society. And we wanted that to be a little bit easier for our kids if they would grow up with a second language and not have to, as an adult, basically start trying to learn a second language, or third or fourth. So we had always had this aspiration that we would raise our children somewhere where the language wasn't English. So that coming to Finland, it kind of like ticked that box, but then also like Finland is just such a wonderful place. There's so much social support for raising kids. The like maternity box is kind of famous worldwide. But I think for me as a woman who also had career aspirations, and I wanted to get my PhD and I wanted to continue in my career, I still think that for most women in the United States, it's very difficult to have both. It's very difficult to have a career and also have kids, especially like 4 kids. Like it's really difficult. And partially it's difficult because of partially because of the expectations. There was an American man who said to me when I was pregnant with my first, like, oh, are you going to quit your PhD now? But here in Finland, I had 3 women supervisors. All of my supervisors were women. All of them were mothers. They had all had kids, and it was like they were very supportive, and it was never a question about like, oh, are you done now? I don't think you're going to do this anymore because you also want to be a mom. So I felt like professionally and also from the system, I had a lot of support to like be a mom, but then also have a career, and I think that was really important for me. And I think that one of the other things I really appreciate about Finland is just the trust that you can have in the system. They're very attentive to every single child and every single child's situation, their home situation, how are they behaving at home, how are they behaving at school, what does this child need? And that level of attentiveness to like every single child's learning and path is something that like in some countries it's just not even possible because there's so many kids and so few teachers, and even in places where the student-to-teacher ratio is feasible that it might be able to do that, just the way that the system is set up and the kind of supports that teachers have to attend to every child and their own learning path is just very different. So I feel like it's more, when I go into our parent-teacher meetings here, it's a dialogue. It's not just a tick-the-box exercise. They're curious about my kid, and I feel like we can have a rapport and a conversation and a dialogue. And I think that like as a mom, I have appreciated so much the trust that I'm able to have in the system here. It is not perfect, and I know that like you could go around and you find 10 Finns that said I had a terrible time in school and I didn't like it at all. No place is perfect, but I think that our experience here has been really awesome.